When it's exercised correctly, power can be a very beneficial and helpful thing. When it's inappropriately exercised, it becomes abuse or even worse. What's the root here? How this Barry feels intimidated toward day 4 of Mishpatim, Yah speaking of his judgments, his judicial decrees. Let's go to, again, chapter 22 of Shemot or Exodus, and let's look at verse 16 through verse number 24. When a man entices a maiden who is not engaged and lies with her, he shall certainly pay the bride price for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he pays according to the bride price of maidens. Do not allow a practicer of witchcraft to live. Anyone lying with a beast shall certainly be put to death. He who slaughters to an Elohim, except to Yahweh only, is put under the ban. Do not tread down a sojourner or oppress him, for you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim. Do not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you do afflict them at all, if they cry out to me at all, I shall certainly hear their cry, and my wrath shall burn, and I shall kill you with the sword. Your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. At first glance, it would seem that Yah is randomly addressing various judicial decrees about disconnected subjects. But there is a bit of a common thread that is to be seen here. And that is that one has a position of authority, power, or some means of persuasion and control. You don't have to be muscular to have power. You can be a very diminutive frame individual, but if you have persuasive words, if you have tactics of manipulation, if you know how to work a situation, you have charisma, if you have money. I mean, there's so many tools of power available. So it's not the big bully and brute that shows up on this scene that is being addressed here. It's those who know how to take advantage of a situation for their own good or for their own benefit. And oftentimes at the lack of benefit or the harm of those that are around them. For example, a young man spies a maiden and he works his way into her life. He, with smooth and enticing words, brings about a stirring of her passions over a period of time. This is not just a chance encounter here. This is something other than he's been working at, and his goal is to conquer her. Seduction is about conquering. It is about manipulation. It is about control. It is exercising one's power of persuasion and charm and smoothness to bring someone into a place of compromise. The exerciser of the power here is the benefactor, if you want to call it that. He is the only one, sometimes she is the only one, achieving the goal. It is the other part of this that is becoming a victim. And so Yah is saying, you're going to be held accountable. You're going to have to pay. You can't just do this and walk away and nothing happen. It's interesting that in the middle of these verses then is these seemingly disconnected and gross practices, wherein one would become a practitioner of witchcraft. We think of witchcraft as the cartoonish women with warts on the end of a hook nose, a pointed hat, dressed in black, and stirring a cauldron of eye of newt and toes of frog and all that kind of stuff. Witchcraft is serious business. It is often framed in the idea of Wicca or nature worship or worship of the goddess Earth, all of this stuff. And we think about this in terms of foolishness or nonsensical, but those that are delving into it, they can tell you that there is a sense of power and authority and business, not business, of power, authority, and control, manipulation that can be had here. Otherwise, what would be the reason? I mean, is it just conjuring up spells to cast and see what happens? A fascination? It may start that way. But when you learn that you can influence and have manipulative control over other people by whatever dark arts you are practicing, it's a thrill ride. And you realize, I'm the puppet master, and I can pull strings, and I can make things work the way I want them, not realizing that the whole time you yourself are being tied to the workings of the grand puppet master, and you become but a mere pawn in his authority. Exercising authority over an animal for your own lust. The depravity, once you start down the road of one level, you think I'm just wooing a maiden, and then it's just, well, I'm just delving into the arts for my own benefit. And you think, well, I can go no further. I don't want to take it any further. You can't stand on one side of sinful practices and say, I'll go that far, but I'll never go beyond that, because you will find yourself over whatever boundaries you set for yourself, and you'll indulge in the areas that you will think, I don't know how I got here. I thought I would never be here. Well, there you are. It's immediately then connected to those who are worshiping other gods, which is witchcraft. It is manipulation and control again. It connected then to the way we treat those who are weak or who are at some sense of disadvantage. The foreigner who walks among us, the new person to the congregation, the one who's just moved into your neighborhood, the new individual on the job, a new family member that by marriage or whatever has been brought in. You may feel like, well, we were here first, and they'll just have to fit to our way of doing things, and we're going to control the situation, and we're going to make sure that they line up according to the way we are. That's pushing your power and your authority over on someone who's just looking for a way to fit in and do what is thought necessary for themselves. And Yah says, for the weakest among you, a widow, one that would have no means of income or support outside of her husband, who is now gone to her, and her orphaned children, fatherless children. Yah says, I take special note of these, and I'm watching. And it's not just that he is watching, he is also watching to see how we treat those who are at the greatest of disadvantages among us. People are capable of being played and manipulated and controlled all over the place. We ourselves. But we must make sure that as we walk in the community of the upright and the righteous, that we deal righteously with one another, watching our words, watching our hearts, and reaching out for support and encouragement, not for our own benefit. More on these things tomorrow. To then, shalom.